you just feel so welcomed. You feel there's a level of trust there that's immediate. You're trusting them with your most prized possession. And, you know, I the second I walked in, I never turned back.
CGS, or Children's Garden School, teaches kids from preschool to grade 3 in the Midtown Toronto neighborhood of Leaside. Bessie Mitrakos is a proud CGS parent, even though it's been a few years since her family left the school. She says her biggest regret is having only sent one kid there, and credits the school with setting her daughter on the path for the career in musical theater that she enjoys today as a young teen. Part of the magic of CGS, says Bessie, is the confidence and creative spark it brought out in her daughter, and how it does that for kids every single day. Tell me a bit about your daughter Faith, who she is as a student and as a person.
So I can honestly say Faith started CGS when she was 2.5 years old. And a lot of, or mostly who she is today is because of that school. So today she's at Branksome Hall. She's going into grade 8, and she's articulate, she's inquisitive, she's determined, she's passionate, she's, you know, she loves school, she loves academics, and I do attribute that to CGS. She got a lot of that from 2.5 right up to the minute she left. So
why CGS? How do you think she'd be different if she'd grown up at a different school?
I feel that just the size of the school, the intimacy of it, the fact that, you know, teachers are so nurturing and so caring. They gave her, and they allowed her to be her. And as her personality grew, they didn't hinder that. They didn't stop her from being Faith. They encouraged who she was. They allowed her to be her. And they supported her every step of the way, through every challenge, through every obstacle. They really did support her, and they gave her confidence. They gave her confidence to be her.
What your Faith left CGS a few years ago. What age did she start there?
2.5.
2.5. So she was there for 7 or 8 years.
6
wow.
years.
6 years.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's a really huge part of her life.
Huge, and she misses it every day. She misses it every day. She attributes who she, and she'll tell people in the street, I am who I am because of CGS. So it's a huge testament to the school, which is why we continue to support it.
When we talk about CGS, you know, as a learning environment, as a community, when we talk about it in terms of culture and values, paint me a picture of the culture and values that you see, you know, with CGS and reflected in your daughter Faith.
So she's extremely empathetic. She cares a lot about what's going on around her. And that's definitely a testament to the school. Just being socially aware of the differences around you, of the people around you, how others are feeling. That's huge. I really admire that about the school and about Faith, actually. And she had that from a very young age. They just, I mean, the confidence that they instill in the children, and they talk to them like they don't talk to them, and they don't treat them like little children. I don't know if that makes sense. They respect their individuality, and they treat them like little adults, and they encourage that growth and allow them to grow individually. It's beautiful.
Bessie, would you tell me about the moment that led you to CGS? Like, where were you? What was going through your head when you started looking for the right place for Faith?
So we only looked at CGS for Faith. We had been there a couple of years. I have an older daughter, and we had interviewed there for her 3 years before that, and we didn't select CGS for our older daughter, and it's probably our biggest regret till this very moment. We knew right away that Faith was going to CGS. We didn't even apply anywhere else. We only applied to CGS for Faith.
Could you contrast these two experiences for me? What was happening in your older daughter's life that made CGS such a no-brainer for you?
So immediately we felt that our older daughter wasn't as confident as she could have been. She went to a school that was a little bit more, I wouldn't say, just a different environment, socially, academically, very different environment. But we knew right away that CGS will encourage and grow Faith's confidence and build her confidence, and it's exactly what they did. So it was a no-brainer. It was a no-brainer for us, just knowing that, you know, what our older daughter could have benefited from CGS and didn't, because we chose another school. It was really a no-brainer for us. Yeah.
What's something that you assumed about the school going into it, but that was kind of a leap of faith? You know, something that maybe was reinforced by your experience all these years later, or maybe something that was replaced by a different pleasant surprise.
I mean, for us, it got better and better every year. You know, Faith had a different personality than our older daughter, so we were worried because we didn't accept the first time around. We thought, well, you know, should we have gone this route? But each year, Faith became more confident and more vocal and more sure of herself, and just the qualities that we saw in her were just extraordinary. So we were pleasantly surprised each year. It just got better and better for us, which is why we normally should have applied out. Well, I mean, not normally, but major entrance into, you know, the bigger schools, the all-girls schools are grade 3, but we stayed an extra year just because we couldn't. We decided we're going to take the chance, and we stayed an extra year. Yeah.
What's something that Faith misses about CGS now that she's a few years out of it?
She misses the intimacy of it. She misses the public speaking. She misses the stage. She's a performer, and CGS really brought that out in her. In fact, she performs because of CGS. So she misses just how close everybody was, because it's a small knit community. So she definitely misses the intimacy for sure.
She's a performer, you say?
She does musical theater. Yeah.
That's quite a, that's quite a big thing to have in your life. And you credit that to CGS.
Completely. And only. I mean, she started singing so CGS does so much in terms of putting them on stage, public speaking, making them so comfortable to be around others and speak. And I think that if you don't get that at a young age, you're really, really missing out. And it gets harder to do it as you get older. And I can say for my older daughter, it's probably one of the bigger regrets because of that. She's a little bit more shy now. She's more reserved, whereas Faith didn't know any better. Faith went in and got on that stage, and they didn't let her stop. And even there was a time where she said, maybe I'm a little too shy. They didn't let her. They said, you know what? No, this is like part of our culture. This is part of who we are. You're going to get on that stage and you're going to keep doing what you're doing. And because of CGS, Faith performs in front of thousands of people and she has no issues.
Wow.
And she's 12. Well, 13.
And performance in particular, like being on stage, being confident, being public, that's part of the culture at CGS is what you're saying.
Huge. They do monthly assemblies. They do public speaking contests. They do, they're musical. They have two musicals in the year where they encourage whole school participation. It's they really do focus on getting the children out there and being confident on stage and in front of people.
Can you think of another classroom example of maybe it's performance, public speaking, another CGS value that's reflected in a different kind of classroom?
I mean, I could speak to their academics. Their academics are quite strong. Faith Faith's love of math came from CGS. They really do focus on each, like, so for example, Faith was a little bit more advanced in her math. They encouraged that in class. They worked with her a little bit more on an individual basis, and they do respect each child's advancements and limitations. So they do work individually with them.
Here's a better question, maybe. What would you say was, we've talked about the stage. What would you say is Faith's other favorite CGS classroom, most favorite and least favorite? And how do the values of CGS come into play in each one?
So I think I would have to say her least favorite was the gym class. She's a performer. She's not very sporty. So she would really feel defeated and not as, but they didn't let her feel that way. And what I loved is that, they have races, they do Spirit Week, they do Spirit Day, they have competitions, and the competitions are real, and they get ribbons for second and third, and participation ribbons. But they didn't let her, for Faith, it was easiest to just not participate because she couldn't. She wasn't as strong. She wasn't as sporty, but they really encouraged her on that front. They didn't let her just sit out and sulk and, say I'm not good enough. They encouraged her in a way that whatever she was able to do was good. That was good enough. It didn't have to be the best. It didn't have to, but whatever it was, that was good enough. So it really, fast forward 3 years, she's sportier than ever. And again, I feel like it's because they didn't let her give up. They encouraged that you didn't have to be the best, but you did have to try. You did have to put your best foot forward, but you didn't have to be the best. So I think that was pretty amazing. And the way they do it, the way they encourage children with such empathy and in such a nurturing way, they don't let them give up. And I thought that was amazing. I think her favorite class was obviously the vocals. They have specialty teachers where they do music classes and then hone in on their specialty, be it vocally or like an instrument. So that was definitely her favorite. They're very, very supportive and encourage whatever your strength or weakness is, they encourage that.
Cool.
Which I feel helps the kids boost their confidence even more.
You were saying, Bessie, that that gym is maybe the least favorite, but math was the most favorite off the stage. Tell me about another aspect of CGS culture and values and the way things work there through the lens of your daughter's experience in math class.
So they were really, really I guess it depends on the learner, but I feel like because the class size was small, they were able to really hone in on each child's way of learning, which is really, really important in math. And, she was lucky. I think all the teachers are incredible there, but each teacher does recognize and pick up on each child's individual learning capabilities, which is amazing. So really the teachers hone in, work with each child and work with them in their own individual learning style, which is really important, which really helped Faith because she didn't learn like her friend, or she didn't learn like everybody else. So they worked with how she learned.
Here's a question for you, Bessie. We're speaking right now in the middle of the coronavirus pandemic. The school year is just wrapping up. It's mid-June. Yep. You, like many other parents, have been thinking quite a lot about having your feet in the shoes of teachers. I'm wondering if this experience taught you anything about, how you see the teachers, in particular CGS, and what makes them special.
I feel like they all band together and they work as a family and they really care about these kids. They will do anything to support these children. They go into school and it's obvious. It's obvious from the minute you walk in there. They go to school because they love to be there. They love to teach and they love the children. And I feel like, and I follow them and I keep in contact with Marie and I keep in contact with the school and we have friends from there still. So the way that they've navigated the situation and the way that they've navigated this pandemic and helping the children and teaching the children and keeping them engaged and keeping them focused, I think is quite remarkable.
Do you have a favorite CGS moment from your daughter's time there?
I do. I have so I said Faith performs, and she realized that she was bigger than she thought she was on stage, so she decided to back away from it. And as a parent, I said, well, I mean, if it's not what she wants, I'm not going to force her. Well, all the teachers banded together, and this was amazing. And they said to me, we're not going to let her give up, because we recognize a talent, and we're not going to let her give up just because she wants to and just because it's easy. So they worked with her. I stepped back. I stepped away from the situation, and they helped Faith get back on that stage. And they worked within, her insecurities at the time, and they really, really helped her to get back on that stage. So I think, they went above and beyond, and they didn't have to do that. So, there's so many, but that one sticks out because I feel like it's why Faith is who she is today in terms of performing.
I'm curious, Bessie, as a longtime CGS parent, you have a special perspective on the place.
Yeah.
And there are not a lot of nice things to say about CGS, but also we're not here to just pump their tires. I'm
Sure.
wondering if we put you in charge, tomorrow, if you were the principal, if you were in charge and running the show, I want to know something you would double down on.
Yeah.
Something new you would try, and something you would ease off or stop doing or change.
So I probably am the wrong person to ask. I have nothing but amazing memories about CGS. The only thing that I would have hoped is that the school was bigger, and that the school was not bigger in a sense. I like the class sizes. A bit bigger would have been the class sizes could be a little bit bigger, but I wish that it didn't stop at grade 3. I feel like they have so much to offer, and Marie's, the values she herself has that she passes on to her students are just necessary in life for these kids. And I only wish that it could have gone up until grade 7 at least, or 8.
Cool.
Leaving them at a young age was like, Faith was shell shocked. She's like, I don't want to leave. So, and just a bit bigger.
Were you expecting that maybe, years earlier when you were deciding which school to go to? Was the continuity part of your decision making? Because on the one hand you picked one school, on the latter hand you picked CGS. How did the continuity factor in there?
So we thought about that. We did. We definitely did. But it was worth the risk for us. We decided that whatever happens, we really had high hopes that it would be what we thought it would be for Faith, and that if at the end, she only stayed there for the 6 years and it was a risk of getting into another school, we were willing to take that risk. We felt pretty confident that CGS would prepare her the way that we were hoping for in order to get into one of the bigger schools. And it was no problem at all.
Going back to a question I asked you a moment ago, you were saying that the thing you would, the new thing you would try, the thing you would invest in as the imaginary head of CGS would be expanded grades to go along up to grade 8. In addition to that, alongside that, what is a strength of CGS that you as the imaginary boss would double down on? This is our strength, we're going to play it up, this is what makes us special, and we're going to lean into that. What would that be for you?
It's their culture. It's the entire culture. From the minute that you walk through that door, you just feel so welcomed. You feel there's a level of trust there that's immediate. You're trusting them with your most prized possession. And, I the second I walked in, I never turned back. I trusted them wholeheartedly, and they make you feel that way the second you walk through the door, that you're going to be safe, that your kids are going to be safe, but they're also going to get, everything else that comes with that. They're going to get an amazing academic curriculum. We never had an issue with that. it's just, it's trust, it's support. It's the second you walk through that door, you feel that.
Do you often get asked by other parents about CGS?
Always. I've had people call me and ask about CGS.
Do you have, is it the kind of the same conversations that play out, the same questions that people have, or do people come with all kinds of different questions?
Yeah, because like children are so young, when they enter into CGS, I get asked, like, is it a nurturing school? Is it academic enough at the upper level? Is it, how are they treated? Is, the respect level and the communication and the open levels of communication, all of that from one end to the other. You ask different questions when your child's 2.5, and you ask different questions when your child's 10. So
communication is a big one, eh?
Huge.
Is that part of the trust element that you were talking about?
It is, I think, and they encourage open dialogue. There's never, I think a fear for children is, raising their hand, asking a question. Is it the right question? Is it the wrong question? How am I going to be responded to? But there's nothing of that sort. They're encouraged to ask questions all the time. They're encouraged, if they feel a certain way, to come forward and express how they feel. They're never made to feel that, they shouldn't feel a certain way. And that's, especially at 2.5 or 3, that's super important in teaching a child how to communicate effectively. And they do that. And I know, Faith is a strong character. And she often went to Marie's office and knocked on the door and said, "Can we chat? I have a couple of questions." And Marie never turned her away. It didn't matter how busy she was. Didn't matter if didn't matter what. She always encourages open communication. And the kids felt heard.
I'm also thinking about the parents, and parents appreciate feeling heard as well. And the fact that you're referring to Marie in the first person, you said that you're still in touch. Tell me about those relationships.
I've, in my 6 years there, anytime I didn't have any issues per se, but if I had questions or any type of concerns or anything at all, the teachers had no issue with me knocking on the door and just popping in and chatting. Marie definitely didn't have a problem. And Marie's very hands-on. She's very present. She's very, there's no intimidation factor. My 5-year-old daughter had no issue going to the principal of the school and saying, "Hey, I have a recommendation," or "I have to chat, I have a concern, I have a problem." Marie always encouraged that, always. From myself especially, I've knocked on her door, popped in spontaneously, and was never turned away, ever. And I was never made to feel that, it's not a good time, or it was always, what can I do?
Thinking back, thinking about other parents and, the conversations that parents have with each other, the questions you often have received over the years about CGS. What's the most surprising thing, question, concern, or curiosity that a parent's raised with you about CGS?
I often get, I've often get asked, is it really as good as people say? Is that the truth? Is that the truth? Is it what people say it is on the outside? And I know that, your experience obviously dictates your opinion, but it is. There's no, it is what it is. Like, it actually is. There's no facade. There's no facade. It's a genuine, authentic school. And I often get asked, is it really what you say it is? It is.
What do you think Faith's friends would ask her about it? Her friends who didn't go to CGS.
Yeah. So, are the teachers nice? Are the kids nice? Is it fun?
Is it fun?
It's a lot of fun. Oh my gosh, it's so much fun. I never had a day where Faith said she didn't want to go to school. And in fact, when she had a fever of 102, she begged me to go to school. So that in and of itself is a huge testament to the school.
Well, look, Bessie, I want to be respectful of your time, but before I let you go, if I gave the steering wheel over to you, what's something that's on your radar, something that I haven't asked that perhaps I ought to?
I think you've covered it all. I think that what I think people should know most about the school is that it really is a truly loving environment, but doesn't, I mean, it's not just, it's not, it's highly academic. It prepared Faith quite extensively for her grade 4th year. She was, ahead of the game academically, respectful, articulate. I mean, it really just, clearly I can't say enough good things about it. I feel that it's a very well balanced, nurturing environment, and it's not just from it's academic, it's social. I just feel like Marie, given the size of her school, ticks all the boxes. She really hones in on what children need to be prepared, and they do prepare them. They work with them to prepare them for entrance into the bigger schools, which is super important because you want to make sure your kid's ready for that bigger environment. And actually, I think one question is that that I was asked was, coming from a smaller environment, the bigger schools, the girls' schools are significantly bigger. And will my child be prepared? Absolutely. Faith walked into Branksome and didn't skip a beat. There was no issue on, the size of it, and the intimidation factor wasn't there. It didn't matter. They do a very good job in preparing them to get in. And just to go back, I know I speak to Faith, and she's very bold and confident. Not only that child does well, not only that personality does well at CGS, even the shy, timid ones do very well. And in fact, I've seen very shy, timid children from 2.5. They're different children when they leave that school. They're different. So I think you benefit on both fronts, on all fronts. No matter what personality, they come out prepared.
Bessie, as a parent who's been there more than once, I'm wondering whether you would have a message for parents who are in the middle of that really big and difficult and intimidating and challenging and overwhelming decision.
Yeah, I feel like you need to go with your gut. I mean, go with your gut and follow your heart. I didn't accept CGS the one time, and it didn't feel right for me. I felt that I should have, and until this day, it's my biggest regret with my oldest daughter. She's doing great where she's at. We love her school, but I feel like she would have benefited so much from that environment. So go with your gut, and when you walk in there and it feels right, don't question it. Really go with it, because it is what it is. It really it feels right because it is.